name is Doug Smith. I have the great pleasure of first thanking C100 for making all of this possible. And I would like to introduce you to Dr. Chen, the CEO of Bosch China, as well as Wilson Liavano, who is a journalist with the Ground Truth Project and Report for America. As Nick said, we're focusing today on what Dr. Chen can share with us about the experience that Bosch had in response to COVID. So with that, let me hand it over to Wilson and Dr. Chen.
Thank you very much, Doug. Thank you, Dr. Chen, for taking the time to chat with us. Let's start with talking about the situation before the start of the pandemic. Can you give us a snapshot of the state of the company before the first measures that the government enacted?
Sure. We're glad to be here. Actually, I'm American Chinese working in Shanghai for a German company. So that's I'm the China operation head, Bosch China president. We have by end of 2019, we have close to 60,000 workforce in China with a turnover of 14 billion euro, which equivalent to 15 billion US dollars roughly. That's our business. We have 39 manufacturing sites with also R&D center, headquarters at 37 cities across China. In Hubei province, in Wuhan, we also have two plants who make automotive parts and industry boilers. In the same time, we also have two sales offices represent a different product in China. So that's what we have. With Bosch in China have been more than 100 years. We have maintained more than 20% of growth rate for past 20 years. So that's why we have a very good business. We represent roughly 19% global Bosch turnover perspective. So that's what we have. So that's a snapshot of what's the Bosch operation in China.
Thank you. Now, can you walk us through the development of this crisis and what was your response to it?
Yes, it's quite an interesting story. For me, it's really emotional and also really have a tough experience for past more than 2 months. I come back from US in beginning of January from the CES show in Las Vegas. Everything normal, everything fine. After we come back in the beginning of January, we see some news report spot regarding unknown virus in Wuhan. We don't know what it is, not official communication. So that's why I call that one phase 1, because in my opinion, local doctors, they do not know either how dangerous of this virus is. So that's why we see some news and we just make people more aware of the situation. So that's why before official announcement of people to people transmission of virus by January 20th, we already give people advice that when we travel to Wuhan, we need to be careful of this virus. So that's why we already have a little bit of warning to our people. So that's the beginning of the phase 1 virus before January 20th. Then January 20th is the official announcement by the very famous doctor in China, Zhong Nanshan. He announced in the CCTV that that virus is very dangerous and it's a people-to-people transmission. In the same time, he advised that people from Wuhan should not go out. Outside people should not come to Wuhan. But they did not lock down the city yet. So after we get this news, we think that the crisis is coming. Before January 20th, everything on track. We are ready for the holiday and we are in holiday mode because this year, the Chinese holiday, Chinese New Year holiday is in January, not the traditionally in February. So that's why it's about half month earlier. So we are in the holiday mode already. But as soon as we heard that and we activated our internal procedure we call the crisis management, CMT. So the China crisis management team is activated in January 21st. Then we start implement different measures and different tools for this crisis management. So that's how we start from there.
Wonderful. What was some of the first measures that you took once Wuhan was declared to be on lockdown?
Yeah, basically, you know, for us, we have experienced 17 years, my personal the SARS situation. We know that the first thing you need is a mask for prevention of the disease transmission. So in China, we have very urgent need. So the first decision we made is for sure is travel restriction. We said we shouldn't restrict any travel to the province. Then we stopped the travel, and then we buy the medical mask for our people. So we immediately put order because at that time, in the first few days, it's easy to buy masks at that time before Chinese New Year. We bought the 30,000 piece of mask ready for our production people. So we are prepared for the after New Year production. We thought that then after New Year, we can start production. We needed that mask. So that's why we bought the mask in the first place. So that's two measures is very critical because right after that, we have a Chinese New Year shutdown and nobody work. Then a lot of people panic to ask for the mask, where we can buy mask. And I even donated the mask to some policemen in Shanghai, some our remote office to other places. We ship the mask to Wuhan even for our office people because our office people and the plant people, they're even shut down at home, but they don't have masks. They need living in that. So that's why at the 23rd, when the government locked down Wuhan, we already shipped our mask to Wuhan. So our people have masks at that time. This make their life much easier. So that's phase 2 of the situation, lockdown start.
That's good. And you were already, as you mentioned, that you were already on the holiday mode of the Chinese New Year. Once the outbreak happens, Wuhan is locked down. At what point do you realize that okay, at this point there's the holiday is not going to be, work is not going to be resuming immediately after the holiday? So what happens when the holiday is coming to an end?
Yeah, basically that's New Year Eve day. We already see the big impact, and government restricted the travel and restricted the even international travel. So that's why we proposed to our headquarters in Germany, we automatically cancel our international trip in and from China. That means international people should not come to China. Our people should not travel to outside China unless there's a necessity for the business continuity. So that's why we stopped the international travel come to China. Then during the holiday, we have the key team did not take a vacation. We start to have a daily meeting to see what the countermeasure we can do. We try to see, because Chinese holiday is 1 week holiday, we try to see after 1 week how we can continue our business. But after 2 days of holiday, we realized that it's not possible to come back to work. And government is in discussion to give people additional week of holiday. But we take this, before the government made a decision, we made a decision already. We want the people stay at home in first week because we know based on the 17 years of SARS experience, most cases, the quarantine time is 14 days. So that's why we want people stay at home additional week. So we give first week home office week. Fortunately, government announced that they extended the Chinese New Year holiday by 1 week. So that's why we have a 2 week Chinese New Year holiday. So that's why people stay at home. We did not open. Then after this 2 weeks Chinese holiday, the government still not allow us to start operation. Then we said, okay, in that case, we start with slowly by majority of people work at home, the home office. So then we almost 100% at home and stay at home and remotely work. So what we did is, because if you work at home, you need to increase the bandwidth of your VPN. The company always have VPN. So our IT team be able to rush through the China Telecom and made the bandwidth to Germany and to Singapore, our gateway, to increase the capacity of VPN. So that's is essential for working from home. You need a VPN in order to use the company network. So that's why it's very critical to have a right bandwidth of VPN capability. And at the same time, that we use a social media tool like WeChat, and everybody in US, you guys use Facebook and WhatsApp, but China's WeChat is so powerful that you can have a conference like we are doing in Zoom. WeChat actually have the capability of Zoom, but we are more friendly use WeChat. So WeChat become a very essential tool for the groups to group them together, so that people, when working at home, you can see that each team member in WeChat, and they even have video call together. So that's why the third week is also for home office week. Then fourth week, we start with 20% of people come back. So in order to prepare people come back, we did a lot of work by setting up procedures at a different crisis mode. For example, first, we need to make sure that people come to the office, they are properly quarantined. That means that they are safe enough. Because during the first few weeks, there's a high peak of the disease come out. You can see it that during the transportation from city to city, a lot of people get that disease because you do not know who have that one, who do not have that one. So that's why we are very worried that if you transfer from your home city, because Chinese New Year, most people went home. So you from your home to the Shanghai or your working location, you need to take a public transportation, which is a high risk transport. So that's why we ask people come back to the working location as soon as possible. Then you stay at home for 14 days of quarantine. So that's why in the first week, when we start back to the office, the first thing we did is we need to register where you have been in past 3 weeks during the holiday, if you stayed in your working location for 14 days already. So we allow people, you stayed in the city for 14 days already to come to the office. So it's really selective, and then you come to the office, so you are safe enough. Then the people need to register, use the barcode at the gate, so that we know they promise also they stayed in the city for 14 days, they do not have a fever, and at the gate, we have procedure to check them and wash their hand, and we distribute the mask. For the mask wearing, right now we still, after 2 months, we're still wearing the mask. I know in American, people usually do not wear masks, but the problem for this disease is you do not have a symptom before you show up the symptom. You do not know you are patient already, and you start transmitting that. So that's why every people need to protect other people by wearing your own mask. So that's why we strongly promote you wearing a mask. That's the reason, because you don't know you are patient already, you wearing a mask.
I think that, excuse me, Dr. Chen, I think that's a very important point to make, that I think I think a lot of people think about the mask as protection from the virus. Yeah. As opposed to protecting other people if you have the virus.
Yeah, both ways, in our opinion.
Right.
Because both ways, you're like, if I don't have, then I wear that, because the contact person, that guy, he does not know he have a virus or not at that stage, in early stage, because there's no symptom before a few days, then you show up a fever. You have this the virus already. So that's why for this virus, we need to wear a mask. So that's why we bought more than 1 million masks already right now for our usage. We can sustain another 2 or 3 weeks wearing. But let me continue. Basically, for comeback office, also we have a crisis routine that in case we have a confirmed case. in my opinion, that if you have a confirmed case at our office, for example, how we handle it, where is the isolation room that people should go that room if you have a fever, how to call the doctor, how to call the CDC people, they come to the office, pick up. So we have all that routine set up for the worst case scenario. The good part is that we do not have to use it. Even now, we don't have any confirmed case at least at our plant so far. So that's why we did not use it. But we do have procedure in case we have a confirmed case. I found that from the newspaper or news, the Europe and the US treated that case is more easy, not so aggressive to quarantine the close contact. In our practice or our training, we need to very aggressively find who have this virus. That means need more tests. In the same time, you need to aggressively quarantine 14 days for the people who have close contact. In Europe and US experience, you only quarantine maybe 5 people. In China, you can quarantine 50 or 100, even 1,000 people just for one case. So that's why aggressiveness of the quarantine people is also very important based on our practice. Anyhow, back to our resume work. Then
Chen, at this point, we are in the 5th week of the pandemic. So one question before you continue. At what point did the factory, the plant workers went back? Because you were mentioning that, so a lot of the work being office work done from home. That plant workers obviously cannot work from home. So what happens to them in that period?
Plant work, we have 2 scenarios. One is because we have overtime during the Chinese New Year. So that's group of people, they already at the factory, they are safe enough because they did not travel. They need to come to the work every day during the holiday. So that's why they continue the work. Then for the new people come back, actually the new people come back, we try to start operation in the 3rd week already for the people, when the people still have a home office for office people. But for plant people, they need to come back to work already at the 3rd week. For that people, that's why we have asked people to investigate that if you have been out of town for 14 days before you come back to work. So we only select people who stayed in the working location more than 14 days. We allow them to come back to work. In the same time, we do not let them to take a public transportation. We try to use our shuttle bus and shuttle them back forth from dorm and to company so that they do not get anything else. So that's why our workforce in the 1st week and 2 weeks is not that great. It's only like beginning of 20 or 30% to start the business back. So that's why we gradually come back. The office, same thing. The 1st week come back to work, we only have 20% of people come back. Then the following week, we have another 20 or 30%, which will be more than 50. Then 3rd week, we have, right now we have roughly 95% of people is starting working, but still, even now is 8th week already, we still have roughly 20% of people working from home and 75% working at office. That's the current situation. We have quite a few people still stuck at the Hubei province for 2 months because government do not allow them come out yet. So we are trying to see when, I think within next week or so, they will allow to come back to work. And the government will have a policy to release them. And then we do not need them to stay in the working location for additional quarantine because they quarantine at their home for 2 months already. So they will come back like that way. In the same time, during the ramp up, we faced, in the beginning, we faced 2 issues, very important issue. One is the logistic, because right after the lockdown of Hubei province, all other provinces start lockdown themselves. They don't want people to travel, they don't want people to come back. Then how we can make our good export and do not interrupt international production and also domestic production. The logistic of transportation of parts become very critical. Then we work with the government Government is also very supportive. In the beginning, they refused anything. Then after we lobby and after a few days, they allowed good transportation coming from Suzhou to Shanghai port and airport, the transportation. So that's why transportation now 100% no problem. You can do it. Only problem is the capacity. Then second one is the associate if come back. Like I mentioned, all our people in the first week we only have 20% the workforce can work. Then second week you have another 20% of people can work. Right now we have 100% people can work already at our factory. That means we can run our capacity at 100% of capacity except one plant. We have 39 plants, 38 all can run 100% of capacity, but the demand side is not that much. So that's why we running not a 100% capacity right now. So that's the situation.
And in the run-up, as you were mentioning, of opening again transportation lines, and all through this process, actually, how much coordination did you have with your suppliers and other partners that you have on your business?
Yes, many, because we have a task force, different task force like responsible supplier. We monitor all suppliers if they can come back. We monitor international supplier and local supplier. In the same time that we support the supplier to get their parts released, like I mentioned, transportation issue. I personally write several letters to local government to lobby for the suppliers to ramp up their production, because Bosch is a very famous company, and no matter what in China, our lobby power is much stronger than the supplier. So that's why the supplier asked us to help them to local lobby government to let them start operation. So we did lobby a lot of government. Government did very supportive. They want safety first, then gradually ramp up production. So we do have that kind of experience to work with the partners and work with the government and the lobby government to let the production run. So so far the experience for past few weeks is very successful. That's why we up to now we have no interrupt to our customer in China happened due to us. But because of the international situation, you see a lot of Europe shut down and more, then we are worried that the next phase, the fourth phase of the current situation will be international situation impact to China, how we can handle that. The international production network will impact our, like Europe is shutting down for next 2-3 weeks of all OEM. You see the BMW, Mercedes, they announced the shutdown. And then the automotive in parts supplier will shut down. Then that may impact our production in China. So we are watching very closely how we can avoid next 3 to 4 weeks.
Are there any of the measures that you adopted in China being replicated by the international, by your headquarters in Germany?
Yes, different. Basically, for our crisis management procedure itself is adoption of international. Our company international procedure we adapted to China case. So that's why we have internationally, globally headquarters. We also have a crisis management team and procedures. That team also in place. Each country have a representative in this global crisis management. Start with only China and headquarters. Now include all the countries, almost in all major countries in this global crisis management team. So that's why we share all our lesson learned and also our experience regarding the disease, regarding mask, regarding temperature check, regarding the crisis mode that in case you have a confirmed case. But different country, you can adapt a different way to do it, like for the mask, wearing mask. In China is very essential for people to wear a mask, but in Germany and other part of Europe, they don't wear any mask for ordinary people yet. So that's why we try to share with them. We try to tell them this disease, you don't know you have one, you wear the mask. So that's why we try to see it's beneficial for ordinary people without the disease to wear mask, which is really helpful to yourself and to other people. So that's also in same time, like emergency case that if you have a confirmed case, how you do it, we also have a procedure like that.
You share those procedures. That's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your communication strategy during the crisis. How did you approach communicating with your employees first, and then with your customers?
Yeah, we have a different way to communicate, including for sure most powerful tool during the off work hours is the WeChat. We have a WeChat different distribution list. We have a WeChat account that people can watch, and so that's why we have a WeChat as a most essential tool during the off working hour. And in working hour, we have the email system which can distribute, and we have a Bosch Connect. You can share some information there in the office. But my personal experience is that WeChat, social media is the most efficient tool to share and discuss. Like for example, during this holiday crisis mode, we cannot just set up a telecom, ask people to call in because different people have different schedule. We group the chat group at WeChat is very efficient, and then we have a question, we have a decision, we can immediately discuss in WeChat group and make a decision. And that's a very good group chat function in the social media software. Then we use that one a lot. So overall, we use all the communication channel, including WeChat, email, posting in our internet, and also posting in the intranet. So that's the way we communicate. People very aware of the current situation because the television, and also you can see from outside the street, and a lot of people wearing masks. Our people are aware that you need to wash hand, you need to wear mask, and don't touch your face, and don't touch anything outside. When you go out, and don't touch anything.
Did you have any kind of procedure of how often will you communicate with your employees, or this was just on a day-to-day basis?
I would say at least day-to-day basis, because in same time, one unique case, I don't know the American, but the unique case is because we have a lot of quarantine case. That means suspected patient. You traveled with somebody in an airplane, that airplane have one confirmed case. Then Chinese government will, if you are close contact with that person, they will give you a centralized quarantine. We have quite a few travelers asked by Chinese CDC to be central hotel stay quarantine. That's really when the people go, and all CDC people come to our office to take the people away, and people is very worried. So that's why we need to effectively communicate to the people, it's not a confirmed case, it's just a close contact case, that people need to go to the central location for quarantine for 14 days. So make sure people do not afraid of that. So that's why it's daily based and also timely communication. Whenever you have something open communicated to people, so people do not worry about. And also, for example, we have one case because at that time, 3 weeks ago, Europe is not that dangerous. We have one guy from Germany travel to Shanghai. At that time, our policy is that for traveling from Germany and US, you don't have to, because at that time, in domestic traveler come back to Shanghai, you need a quarantine 14 days mandatory. For international traveler travel to Shanghai 3 or 4 weeks ago, at that time, it's not mandatory, it's recommend. And then the one guy did not stay home, and he come to the office second day. Then third day, he get asked by CDC to go to the centralized quarantine location to stay there for 14 days. Then when he go to the quarantine station, everybody panic surrounding him. So that's why we have to communicate to people during this one day, which room where he stayed. We need to publish this one very quickly so that we need a deep cleaning. And at the same time, we need to let people aware of what's going on. Then people see the open communication, they feel much more safer. If we do not communicate, people will guess, oh, where this guy have been and what's going on. So that's why efficient and transparent communication is very important, at least in Chinese culture. Maybe American is a different story, but we communicate very quickly about that.
Thanks. I also understand that there was a phone app that was crucial in your measures for registering temperature of employees. Can you,
Yeah.
in other aspects, can you tell us a little bit more about this app, how it was developed, etc.?
Yeah, we, during the holiday, right after holiday, when we prepare for the come back to work, the government have a lot of mandatory tools that you need to register where you have been for past 14 days, what's your temperature, do you have a cough, and so forth. So that's why we developed a first version of WeChat tool, which you can scan the code, then you just fill in your information. It's not an app, it's a small app at WeChat. So you scan a code, then you register. So that's the first layer. Then when we come back to work, every day you need to scan a barcode. That after you scan the barcode, you need to put down that you confirm you have not been outside of that working location for 14 days. You have no fever, no temperature, and nothing. And you are not come from the high-risk region. Then you confirm this and you send this information to our server. Then you can get in. At the gate, your temperature is checked. If you are 37.4, then you cannot get in. You cannot go home either if you cut at the gate. We have a special procedure that if you come in with 37.4 above, then you cannot just go home. You cannot get in. You need to go to this hospital. Get a hospital checked and get a hospital confirmed you are okay, then you can come back to work. Otherwise, you cannot. So that's why people scan the code at the gate and every day.
And the checks that were done at the gate, was there any other temperature check during the day, or that was just the one check?
Yeah, if different companies have different way, because we have very stringent quarantine rule, because all people stayed in Shanghai for 14 days. We believe is low risk, so that we did not check during lunchtime. But if you go out for lunch, as long as you come back to our compound, you need to be checked. But in the office, we do not check.
I see. Let's talk a little bit about the culture and how you maintain the culture while all employees were first coming back from the holiday and then working from home. What type of measures did you do to keep them being productive while working remotely?
Yeah, first, like I mentioned, you need to write a VPN tool so that people can see you are online, and you can, the Skype, you can chat. But we found that, some team even, they put a WeChat group, just like chat together. Then the people working from home, then they have in the video chat, and they can talk each other, just like in the office. So that's why you have 10 people or 20 people, you can always use this video group chat, so that people can, when you're working, you can see each other, and then you have questions, you can always talk with each other. So that's a video chat is a really efficient tool to do it. And also, we cannot eating together. We also have some guys missing the drinking, so they did the cloud drinking together. They use WeChat cloud, and then they see each other at Ganbei. They have this kind of after work activity, and you have a cloud drinking, we call it. It's really interesting. But most important, you have a clear task for people to working at home, like what kind of task you need to finish. You need to you need to deliver after 2 weeks, what kind of task you need to deliver. So that's why you need people working at home. For sure, working from home, you cannot compare the productivity when you're working at the office in most cases. So that's why we have to live with that, and you just try to make best out of that.
Did you encourage any or organize your own activities, sort of after work, like you said, not necessarily drinking, but did you organize any kind of contest or organize anything just to keep everybody motivated?
Yeah, you can, you know, like exercise. We have the group competition, how you can exercise, you know, walking steps, and you can